Hi, I'm Philip from Robotics Network, here with team BraveBots 19141 from Ploiești, Romania. I'm here with Alex and Julia. The robot has a very unique intaking system and a very unique type of shooter, and I can't wait to see exactly how it works on behind the bot.
This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you and also in partnership with the following. FRCTs has been trusted by over 250 FIRST teams to save on custom shirts and team apparel. Founded by FIRST alumni and offering a free 14-day turnaround with faster options available, you can save time and money for your team when you get a free quote by scanning the QR code or going to frcts.com. Take on the DECODE season with Robotics, featuring their FTC starter bot, new 6mm hex shaft and motor options, and updated bevel gears. FTC teams can receive a 25% discount and apply for grants at studica.com/robots.
So, Alex, starting with you, can you first tell me how you power up your drivetrain and what's going on in your drivetrain?
So for our drivetrain, it's a simple mechanism drivetrain with belting, standard motor positioning with parallel lateral drivetrain. So if we flip the robot, we have 4 GoBuilder motors. This is 435 RPM, and to the wheel it's actually about 500. One special thing about our drivetrain is that we use the 30A rollers from GoBuilder, as these are softer and offer better traction than the original 40A roller.
I see. And have you felt a real difference in real matches, using the 30A GoBuilder rollers?
Yes, comparing to the last year's robot, we actually found a slight improvement in acceleration and also overall speed.
I see. Now, jumping into your intaking system, can you please tell me what's going on over there? And then we'll get into specifics.
Sure, this is our last or present iteration of the intake. We use gecko wheels and these custom mechanism wheels for vectoring the balls. This is the last version of the mechanism wheels. First, we started with they were slightly bigger and fully plastic. Over time, we changed from plastic rollers to having only the nucleus plastic, and now it's silicone tubing over it. And we also made them smaller so that it allows for more compression on the gecko wheel. We also added these protections here. These are just some standard standoffs. This prevents the mechanisms from breaking and also helps with gate intaking. Then we have this whole system linked together. We have belting going from here to the back of the robot that acts like a conveyor and transports the balls into the robot.
I see you also have some kind of elastic band over there. Is your intake compliant, and how much compliance does it have?
Yes, the intake is compliant. First, on the first version of the robot, it was actually active. We had one servo on it, but we quickly dropped that off and used some bungee cord and 2 standoffs to limit the movement of the pivot. It has about 6 to 8 millimeters of compression on the gecko wheels, and it lifts itself up for the last ball so that the motors don't stall out.
That makes a ton of sense. Now, jumping in your guides inside your robot, how do you guide the ball from the intake to the shooter, and how do you transfer it from the intake to the shooter?
So we have here these plastic parts that help the balls funnel so that not 3 of them get stuck, they all choose. Then we have these ramps here and also these side walls that keep the ball centered, and these create the pattern that the balls sit in the robot.
I see. And have you had any problems with the balls intaking harder because of your lateral guides inside the robot, or it just works?
No, we actually gave it some clearance so that the balls can spin freely inside the robot. So there's not a lot of friction going in there.
I see. And how do you transfer from the intaking system to the shooter?
So to transfer, we have these mechanisms here in the back. If you can point the camera, we have here in the back a gecko wheel that using this gearbox here, it's connected to the main intake motors, and by flipping the servo in one direction, the back wheel spins in the same direction as the front wheel, so the ball stays in its place. And then if we flip the servo, they reverse directions because we have here a belt system and here a gear system. So by coupling each side, we choose either from having opposing movement to same movement, and to eject we just flip the servo and they act like a mini shooter.
Okay, so do you use any kind of PTO system to engage the gears, or how do you engage them effectively?
So I'm not sure you can see, but it's essentially taken from the PTO mechanism we used last year, except that it's now doubled. So on one side here we have a pulley with some socket head screws, and on the other side it's a gear with some socket head screws. These they are on a bearing, so they spin individually from the shaft. On the shaft is the actual gecko wheel and the coupler. The coupler has socket head screws on both sides, and by using a simple linkage mechanism we just drag it along the axle, and on one side it couples to the gears, so it spins opposing to this front wheel, and on the other side it's belt, so it spins in the same direction.
I see. And what I also want to ask you is, do you use any type of sensors in your intaking or transferring system?
Right now we don't use actually any sensors. We only use some current detection. This is because we mainly designed this robot to just simply shoot from anywhere on the field. Sorting at the beginning of the season when we conceived this robot, sorting wasn't our priority, so this is why we don't really have sensors. For color detection, we simply shoot balls whatever order we have in.
I see. Now jumping into your shooter system, can you please firstly describe what's going on the shooter, and then we'll get into specifics?
Yes, so firstly our shooter is mounting on a turret. The turret is a traditional bevel with a bearing stack turret driven by a servo. The bearing stacks are fixed in place on this plate, and they are one radial bearing, and above him, below it are two truss bearings. The shooter has two motors with bevel gears. This is so that it's as compact as possible, so it's not long and also not too wide. And on the flywheel here we have about 650 grams of brass, and inside these wheels here, which are actually Gobilda Rhino wheels, we have a bunch of standoffs. These are steel standoffs, so that they hold them together but also add a bit more weight. Overall this has about 1 kilogram of weight. This allows the robot to be able to shoot 3 balls consecutively from the far side and the close.
I see. And what kind of compression do you use for your shooter mechanism?
We use about 6 millimeters of compression. However, on the 4.9-inch ball, as along the season it has been discovered that they are a bit smaller. We also use some aluminum tape here to reduce some of the backspin, and our far zone shooting has improved and it's quite consistent.
And do you feel like still having a little bit of backspin helps, or does it affect your shooting from far distance?
I believe that a bit of backspin actually helps, because by aiming on the panel, using backspin, the balls drop in faster, so it's overall better for cycle times. But having too much backspin can hinder your performance, especially from far zone shooting, as they're very likely to either completely jump off the goal or just dodge the ramp.
I see. And I also see that your shooter has a hooded angle changer. How do you change your hood angle, and how does it work?
So to physically move it, we have a servo here at the back spinning this axle and this plastic gear. It's basically a rack and pinion mechanism, but on a slight curve. And we also have this piece of string here to limit it from not jumping out. And we change the position of the hood and the shooter RPM according to where we sit on the field.
I see, and I also see that you have a Limelight camera mounted on top of your shooter. What do you use it for, and how do you use it to automate things?
So our shooter and the hood positions and the RPM change based on what my colleague said, based on its position in the field and on the distance from the robot to the goal. We use the camera when we want to localize our robot on the field, because we can't only trust our pinpoint localizer. We also determine our position based on when the Limelight sees the April tag and calculates its coordinates on the field. So it's for a better localization on the field.
I see, and do you feel like it really helps a lot with avoiding the pinpoint sleeping, or it's just more like a backup system?
Well, it is a backup system, but it helps us a lot when the pinpoint gives out values, random values that disturb our formulas.
I see. And do you also use it for anything else, or that's it?
We also want to use it to see the motif and to get 3D position of the robot on the field, so we can improve the localization. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that yet.
I see. Thank you so much for telling us about your robot. I really like your robot and how compact it is, and your performance in matches is just insane. I really enjoyed to see it here at Campina Meet. But for now, I'm gonna have to let it go. So thank you so much again, and thank you all for watching. I'm Philip, reporting for Fun Robotics Network, and this was Team 19141 BraveBots. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. Take on the Decode season with Studica Robotics, featuring their FTC starter bot, new 6mm hex shaft and motor options, and updated bevel gears. FTC teams can receive a 25% discount and apply for grants at studica.com/robots. FRCTs has been trusted by over 250 first teams to save on custom shirts and team apparel. Founded by First alumni and offering a free 14-day turnaround with faster options available, you can save time and money for your team when you get a free quote by scanning the QR code or going to frcts.com.